Folks may remember last year that the Seventh Doctor for Big Finish started a new story arc with companions Harry Sullivan and Naomi Cross, played by Christopher Naylor and Eleanor Crooks respectively. Seventh Doctor gets into some wacky hijinks, some adventures, some shenanigans with the two, who are currently displaced from their time periods working for UNIT. Now, I do not know precisely what the status quo with these two characters are. I think that Harry Sullivan, he's been time travelled from the 70s or the 80s to the present day UNIT, and Naomi Cross, I think, is maybe the other way around. I don't know what's going on with these characters. Either way, this was not a box set that I was particularly enamoured by. I thought that Scream of the Daleks was a cool premise, but really undercut by its structure and some plodding. However, we've got this follow-up box set, The Seventh Doctor Adventures, Far From Home, starring Sylvester McCoy, Christopher Naylor, and Eleanor Crooks, in some stories where, the characters are far from home. The first one is Operation Dusk by Alfie Shaw. This takes place in Blitz-era London, the early 1940s. The Nazis are raining bombs and zeppelins down on the British capital. Meanwhile, Vashta Narada are skulking around in the shadows, as can be seen from the cover art here. You've got these really cool gas mask looking characters who are all glowing from the inside. Clearly a very good resource to have at your disposal if you're trying to combat against the shadows. However, there's some double crossing going on. The Seventh Doctor has been summoned by the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, because someone under their jurisdiction, one of their operatives, has been killed, and the cat somehow survived in the room. Basically, the shadows are eating people, but not eating the cat. Let's play a clip from Operation Dusk.
The country's stretched enough as it is. Do I need to tell the PM we're about to start fighting on another front?
If this was an invasion, you'd have already lost. No, this feels smaller.
Thank God. I'll hang on to any silver lining that presents itself.
Excuse me. I should get this.
What are you talking about, man? It isn't ringing.
Yes?
Mr. Woodcote, I've got that report you wanted.
Harriet?
Harriet? Good God, man, what's wrong with you?
Yes, sir. I'm afraid I've been murdered, sir. Terribly clumsy of me, I know.
But this... No, this...
I had to die, sir. I see that now. It's because of what you did.
That wasn't us. You made us do it.
What the damned hell's he on about?
Everyone stay away from him.
We have to help him.
We can't.
Why ever not?
Because he's got two shadows.
That's why you have to die too, sir.
No.
That's why you have to embrace oblivion.
No.
No one go near him. Stay in the light.
Why are you staring at his phone?
Because it's ringing.
No, it isn't.
Is that really the priority?
Since Mr. Woodcote heard the same thing before he died, I'd say it was vital. Shall we see what they have to say?
You can't answer it. That's what led to him being killed.
Oh, we don't know that, not for certain.
Doctor, don't.
Who is this?
That doesn't matter, you funny little man.
So the Doctor, prior to his seventh incarnation, has encountered the Vashta Narada before. The Fourth Doctor had a Big Finish encounter with them several years ago. But I think it's really good to have the Seventh Doctor be the particular protagonist for a Vashta Narada story, because the Seventh Doctor is one who deals with gods and demons and is always articulately planning, like a chessboard, everything that's going to happen over the course of the story. With the Vashta Narada, you can't really do that. They just want to eat people, but not cats, which is a really cool mystery that is like underpinning Operation Dusk from the very first scene. So this is a really good, moody, atmospheric audio drama, and it's immediately a massive bump up in quality from the last box set, Sullivan and Cross AWOL. Operation Dusk is this really cool, I don't want to say Cold War thriller because it's World War II, but there's, double crosses, espionage, conversations done in like darkened alleys and cars chasing other cars and like spying on other people. It does feel like a Cold War thriller, but it is in World War II Blitz era London, which is an astonishingly good setting. And I imagine that the setting maybe came first. The idea that, if the lights are on during the Blitz, then that building or that property is just going to be a prime target for German bombs. But if you turn the lights off, the Vashta Nerada are going to eat you. I imagine that premise, that idea, was like the inception of this story, and then everything else sort of branched out from there. That's not a criticism, though, because it just shows that I think there's a lot more to this story than just the appeal of Vashta Nerada in Blitz London, even though that is a great idea in and of itself. You've got a really effectively used cast, where you do have the Seventh Doctor, Harry and Naomi, who do split up quite frequently to chase different strands of this mystery as to why this person was eaten by the Vashta Nerada. Are the Vashta Nerada being controlled? Who is the glowy person in the gas mask? I do think that at 3 parts, it's perfectly paced and timed. The length of the story felt adequate and appropriate for what it was going for. I think that maybe in spite of that, though, there was maybe there was a double cross too far, and the idea that you get to the end of part 2, beginning of part 3, and there's so many double crosses that it almost makes what was being established at the beginning of the story feel irrelevant. Some really nice character details and characters being fleshed out in really interesting and endearing ways, and then it turns out, they were lying about everything. Even you're getting invested in that, but I think that's kind of the point. But for me, it was there's a few too many twists and turns here, which sort of gets a little bit ridiculous and sort of stretches credibility. That being said, the Vashta Nerada are appropriately scary. There's some really great sound design here, as you heard in that clip where the bones just drop to the floor. That happens quite often, and it's never not freaky as hell. Cast are great. I think that Christopher Naylor as Harry Sullivan acquits himself to the setting admirably. This man out of time who is this dignified, stiff upper lip guy who gets interrogated by the Allied forces because they think he might be in control of the shadows that are eating their agents and stuff. And the way he reacts and responds to it was really, really good. But yeah, so Operation Dusk was a really strong start to this box set, a great Vashta Nerada story as well, and I love the directions it goes in, particularly in part 3, when you get all this cosmic horror stuff, these great big idea things that the Seventh Doctor is much more in his element in, but something that I feel has been missing from his Big Finish stories for quite some time. So this is a really strong start, Operation Dusk, but we also have, for this story, another 3-parter, Naomi's Ark, by Alison Winter. Basically, who's seen the Futurama episode where Bender gets shot out of the torpedo tube and is flying across space and gets separated from his friends? That's basically the premise of Naomi's Ark. The Doctor, Harry and Naomi go to a spaceship that is orbiting this red dwarf star that's about to go supernova, about to destroy everything around him, and the Doctor is just there to pick up some data from the ship in order to preserve the history of the people who were there. However, there's still some robots on the ship that pick up Naomi, put her in an escape pod, and I say, we're trying to save you, we're trying to help you, it's very The Girl Who Waited. We're going to put you in this escape pod and send you flying away in that direction. Oh, and you two gents, let's put you in this other escape pod and fire you in the opposite direction, because we're orbiting a star, we're going to send you in different directions. Godfellas, yes, that's the one, that's the episode of Futurama. So the Doctor and Harry wind up on this satellite that is occupied by this highly intelligent, highly sophisticated race of telepaths. Naomi, however, winds up being rescued by this spaceship of other highly advanced beings that are very immature, but they have incredibly long lifespans. Let's play a clip from Naomi's Ark.
Nowhere.
Please!
Heat!
Heat! Blanket.
For you!
Oh, it's warm. It's warm. An electric blanket in space. Oh,
Yes, better. Alive. Death to you, otherwise.
death to me. That was you.
Bad craft, bad design. Death to you.
Trespasser. Better?
If you mean me, then yeah, I might keep this blanket.
Keep. Welcome gift.
Who are you? You sounded different in the pod.
Death pod. Bad radio, bad connection. Bad translate.
Translate? Hang on, are we being translated right now? Do you have a translation thing?
Translation. Yes. Data. Bad. Need more data. Please, what name?
Naomi.
You know me.
I'm from planet Earth. I can't believe I just said that.
Please wait while our systems identifies Earth.
How old are you?
Earth language identified. Downloading data package. Planet designation System 629. Blue. Installing language database. Human. Humanity.
Yeah, human. Humanoid, I suppose. Aren't you?
Different name, different components, same shapes.
Okay, very different galaxy.
Yes, human. Very brief.
Brief? I don't like the sound of that.
Brief lifespan. Sorry, know me? Sad for you.
Naomi.
Naomi. I'm engineer fixer.
Pleasure to meet you, Fixer. What do you mean, brief lifespan?
Earth data suggests a poetic comparison for your brief lifespan. Mayfly. To us, you are a mayfly.
Right.
Lily in the chat says, question, why do they need a translator when the TARDIS would translate? Answer, there's an explanation when that's a spoiler. I don't consider it a spoiler. I'm going to spoil it. Basically, they are so far away from the TARDIS that the translation circuits aren't able to help out. That is one of the main reasons why the Seventh Doctor is so desperate on this satellite, on this other planet, this civilization, to try and get back to save his friend. And basically, this is such a terrific premise for a story. Yes, it's been ripped off from Futurama, but you know what? All the best ideas have already been taken. That's absolutely fine. What it does, though, is that it's a great character revealing story, where you put these characters in this situation that is so different from what they've experienced before and is completely out of their control. The Seventh Doctor is in such a, fantastic state, in terms of just engaging drama, just listening to Sylvester McCoy rise to the occasion, where he's desperate to get off of this ship to save his friend, or to try and get the ship to turn around. However, the ship that they're on is a generation ship that is being run by a group of highly advanced telepaths. If they turn around, then they will not have enough fuel to get to their new homeworld. The Doctor is promising that if we get back to the ship, my TARDIS is there, you can refuel, you can do everything you need to, but they just don't quite believe him. They're telepaths and they can see into his mind and realise that he might be the destroyer of worlds. And the Seventh Doctor is trying to have that sort of self-reflection on how the universe perceives him. Fantastic stuff, but it's also a great story for Naomi, of course, because she is the one who is isolated, and she's trying to help this group of who are, for all intents and purposes, young kids who are taking a joyride of this spaceship and try and help them out of this situation because their spaceship is breaking down. You've got Engineer Fixer, played by Nina Ferrata, and Captain Rocky, played by Bethany Antonia. Terrific performances there. You heard them both in that clip. They are so good at being able to sound naive, but also very dignified when appropriate. It's a terrific tightrope walk for them to balance, and I think that the cast do a terrific job here. But the standout here for the cast, though, apart from Eleanor Crooks, who really does carry her segment of the story, is Indra Ove, who plays Queen Maylie, who is the telepathic queen leader of the civilization the Doctor and Harry find themselves in, who has this incredibly authoritative but calming voice. You can see why she is queen. You can hear why people follow her and decide that she is the one who should be leading them. It's a terrific, wonderful performance, and how her and Sylvester McCoy bounce off each other during their moral quandaries is really, really fantastic to listen to. I will say, if there's an issue with Naomi's arc, it's that the setup, the premise, the inciting incident and everything being established is terrific, and the ending is terrific. However, the stuff in the middle is a little bit hit or miss. I think that what Naomi gets up to with the young kids sounds wrong. I think that what Naomi gets up to with the captain and the engineer, with this younger, relatively young civilization, is a little bit run here, do this, get the MacGuffin. It's a little bit been there, done that. It leads to a really interesting place. And part 3 of Naomi's arc is fantastic. I think that maybe when you put Naomi in this situation, maybe have her do some more interesting stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But like I said, Naomi's arc is a terrific character study for almost everyone involved except for Harry. He does not get that much to do, but that's fine. He really stood out in Operation Dusk. Naomi's arc is Naomi's story, and the Doctor, and Queen Maylie's. It's a great ensemble cast. Terrific stuff. Far From Home is an astonishingly good box set. I loved it from beginning to end. Sylvester McCoy's terrific. This is a massive, almost comically large step up in quality from Sullivan and Cross AWOL. I've had a few people say, oh, I'm going to listen to Sullivan and Cross AWOL before I listen to Far From Home. My advice, honestly, skip AWOL. I just use TARDIS Wiki to find out what the status quo of Harry and Naomi is, because even I don't know at this point, and I've listened to 2 of these box sets. Use TARDIS Wiki to find out what's happening with these 2, and then just go straight into Far From Home. It's, you know, you've got 2 stories that could not be any more different, like an espionage wartime drama with the Vashta Nerada in Operation Dusk, and then you've got this great biblically epic in terms of like universal scope character study with Naomi's arc. Really great stories that complement each other. Great showcase for both companions and the 7th Doctor generally as well. The ending of Naomi's arc leaves the trio in a really interesting position moving forward in terms of how they gauge their relationship with each other. Really looking forward to what they do next, and I was not feeling that, you know, going into Far From Home, because AWOL I just wasn't really that big a fan of. I will say though, however, really quick like addendum to this review of Far From Home, there is also the audiobook, the interlude, Frozen World by Catherine Armitage, which is performed, narrated by Sophie Aldred. This is basically the Big Finish modern equivalent of their short trips, where you've got the 7th Doctor and Ace. So I believe that these stories with Harry and Naomi are like post-Ace, pre-TV movie. So this is like a post-survival 7th Doctor and Ace story, where the 7th Doctor and Ace go onto the world of Neros, and there are these creatures in the sky called the Flitters, which bite you, and then you get to see all the alternate timelines of the things that would have happened had you done something different, like that prompted them to bite you. For example, you're about to throw a stone, the Flitter bites you, and then you can see what would have happened with all the outcomes had you thrown the stone or dropped it or put it in your pocket, all of that stuff. Here's a brief clip from Frozen World, narrated by Sophie Aldred.
You owe me, Professor. The Doctor looked up, widening his eyes in that way he did when he didn't want to admit confusion. I went to see the boring Frozen thing. Now you owe me a proper adventure. Haven't you had enough adventures for one life? Not a life or death adventure. I mean, I don't know, something really cool. Ice is fairly cool. Ha ha. Ace did not smile. I want something different. Something completely unhuman and mad. The Doctor's fingers traced the console as he considered. Then he shot Ace a grin. She loved that grin. It promised something wicked.
So Catherine Armitage is showing herself to be a really cool, like, up-and-coming writer for Big Finish. I know that she's been with them for quite a while, but she's had a bit of a resurgence recently with this, and also most recently The Beautiful Game, which is the 9th Doctor story about the invention of Premier League football. That was another really good story as well. So Frozen Worlds, I won't dive too deeply into it, but it's just a really eloquently written story where Ace has this epic out-of-body experience when she's bitten by one of these flitters, which is so vast and so all-consuming it almost destroys the planet that she's on. Really, really cool story. It's, you know, it's basically the 7th Doctor and Ace can never do things by half measures. It's always like the end of the world or the end of the universe or some massive character-defining adventure with those two. It's a really cool little addendum to Far From Home, which is a box set that I highly recommend, even if you didn't like AWOL like me. And like I said, if you want more 7th Doctor, I think you can skip AWOL and go straight to Far From Home. This gets a really high recommendation from me.